First the colours, then the humans. That's usually how I see things. Or at least, how I try. Here's a small fact. You are going to die. I am, in all truthfulness, attempting to be cheerful about this whole topic, though most people find themselves hindered in believing me, no matter my protestations. Please, trust me, I most definitely can be cheerful. I can be amiable, agreeable, affable, and that's only the A's. Just don't ask me to be nice. Nice has nothing to do with me. Reaction to the aforementioned fact. Does this worry you? I urge you, don't be afraid. I am nothing if not fair. Of course, an introduction. A beginning. Where are my manners? I could introduce myself properly, but it's not really necessary. You will know me well enough and soon enough, depending on a diverse range of variables. It suffices to say that at some point in time I will be standing over you, as gently as possible. Your soul will be in my arms, a colour will be pushed on my shoulder, I will carry you away, gently. At that moment you will be lying there. I rarely find people standing up. You will be caked in your own body. There might be a discovery, a scream will dribble down the air. The only sound I'll hear after that will be my own breathing and the sound of the smell of my footsteps. The question is, what colour will everything be at the moment when I come for you? What will the sky be saying? Personally, I like a chocolate-coloured sky. Dark chocolate. People say it suits me. I do, however, try to enjoy every colour I see. The whole spectrum. A billion or so flavours, none of them quite the same, and a sky to slowly suck on. It takes the edge off the stress. It helps me relax. A small theory. People observe the colours of the day only at its beginning and end, but to me it's quite clear that a day emerges through a multitude of shades and intonations with each passing moment. A single hour can consist of thousands of different colours. Waxy yellows, cloud-spat blues, murky darknesses. In my line of work, I make it a point to notice them. As I suggested, my one saving grace is distraction. It keeps me sane. It helps me cope, considering the length of time I've been performing this job. The trouble is, who could ever replace me? Who could step in while I take a break in your stock standard resort-style holiday destinations, whether it be tropical or of the ski trip variety? The answer, of course, is nobody, which has prompted me to make the conscious, deliberate decision to make distraction my holiday. Needless to say, I holiday in increments, in colour. Still, it's possible that you might be asking, why does he even need a holiday? What does he need distraction from? Which brings me to my next point. It's the leftover humans, the survivors. They're the ones I can't stand to look at. Although on many occasions I still fail, I deliberately seek out the colour to keep my mind off them, but now and then I witness the ones who are left behind, crumbling amongst the jigsaw puzzle of realisation, despair and surprise. They have punctured hearts, they have beaten lungs, which in turn brings me to the subject I am telling you about tonight, or today, or whatever the hour and colour. It's the story of one of those perpetual survivors, an expert at being left behind. It's just a small story really about, among other things, a girl, some words, an accordionist, some fanatical Germans, a Jewish fistfighter, and quite a lot of thievery. I saw the book thief 3 times. First up is something white, of the blinding kind. Some of you are most likely thinking that white is not really a colour and all of that tired sort of nonsense. Well, I am here to tell you that it is. White is without question a colour, and personally I don't think you want to argue. A reassuring announcement. Please be calm. Despite that previous threat, I am all bluster. I am not violent, I am not malicious, I am a result. Yes, it was white. It felt as though the whole globe was dressed in snow, like it had pulled it on, the way you pull on a jumper. Next to the train line, footprints were sunken to their shins. Trees wore blankets of ice. As you might expect, someone had died. They couldn't just leave him on the ground. For now, it wasn't such a problem, but very soon the track ahead would be cleared and the train would need to move on. There were 2 guards. There was a mother and her daughter. 1 corpse. The mother, the girl, and the corpse remained stubborn and silent. Well, what else do you want me to do? The guards were tall and short. The tall one always spoke first, though he was not in charge. He looked at the small, rounder one, the one with a juicy red face. Well, was the response, we can't just leave them like this, can we? The tall one was losing patience. Why not? And the smaller one damn near exploded. He looked up at the tall one's chin and cried, Spinnst du? Are you stupid? The abhorrence on his cheeks were growing thicker by the moment. His skin widened. Come on, he said, traipsing through the snow. We'll carry all 3 of them back on if we have to. We'll notify the next stop. As for me, I had already made the most elementary of mistakes. I can't explain to you the severity of my self-disappointment. Originally, I had done everything right. I studied the blinding, white snow sky who stood up at the window of the moving train. I practically inhaled it. But still, I wavered. I buckled. I became interested in the girl. Curiosity got the better of me, and I resigned myself to stay as long as my schedule allowed, and I watched. 23 minutes later, when the train had stopped, I climbed out with them. A small soul was in my arms. I stood a little to the right. The dynamic train guard duo made their way back to the mother, the girl, and the small male corpse. I clearly remembered that my breath was loud that day. I'm surprised the guards didn't notice me as they walked by. The world was sagging now, under the weight of all that snow. Perhaps 10 meters to my left, the pale, empty-stomached girl was standing, frost-stricken. Her mouth jittered. Her cold arms were folded. Tears were frozen to the book thief's face. The next is a signature black, to show the pole of my versatility, if you like. It was the darkest moment before the dawn. This time I'd come for a man, perhaps 24 years of age. It was a beautiful thing in some ways. The plane was still coughing, smoke was leaking from both its lungs. When it crashed, 3 deep gashes were made in the earth. Its wings now sawn off arms. No more flapping. Not for this metallic little bird. Some other small facts. Sometimes I arrive too early. I rush. And some people cling longer to life than expected. After a small collection of minutes, the smoke exhausted itself. There was nothing left to give. The boy arrived first, with cluttered breath and what appeared to be a toolkit. With great trepidation, he approached the cockpit and watched the pilot gauging if he was alive, at which point he still was. The book thief arrived perhaps 30 seconds later. Years had passed, but I recognized her. She was panting. From the toolkit, the boy took out, of all things, a teddy bear. He reached in through the torn windscreen and placed it on the pilot's chest. The smiling bear sat huddled amongst the crowded wreckage of the man and the blood. A few minutes later I took a chance. The time was right. I walked in, loosened his soul and carried it gently out. All that was left was the body, the dwindling smell of smoke and the smiling teddy bear. As the crowd arrived in full, things, of course, had changed. The horizon was beginning to charcoal. What was left of the blackness above was nothing but a scribble, and disappearing fast. The man, in comparison, was the colour of bone, skeleton-coloured skin, a ruffled uniform. His eyes were cold and brown, like coffee stains. And the last scrawl from above formed what, to me, appeared an odd yet familiar shape. A signature. The crowd did what crowds do. As I made my way through, each person stood and played with the quietness of it. It was a small concoction of disjointed hand movements, muffled sentences, and mute, self-conscious turns. When I glanced back at the plane, the pilot's open mouth appeared to be smiling. A final dirty joke. Another human punchline. He remained shrouded amongst his uniform as the greying light arm-wrestled the sky. As with many of the others, when I began my journey away, there seemed a quick shadow again, a final moment of eclipse. The recognition of another soul gone. You see, for me, for just a moment, despite all of the colours that touch and grapple with what I see in this world, I will often catch an eclipse when a human dies. I've seen millions of them. I've seen more eclipses than I care to remember. The last time I saw her was red. The sky was like soup, boiling and stirring. In some places it was burnt. There were black crumbs and pepper streaked amongst the redness. Earlier, kids had been playing hopscotch there on the street that looked like oil-stained pages. When I arrived, I could still hear the echoes, the feet tapping the road, the children's voices laughing, and the smiles like salt but decaying fast. Then, bombs. This time, everything was too late. The sirens, the cuckoo shrieks in the radio, all too late. Within minutes, mounds of concrete and earth were stacked and piled. The streets were ruptured veins. Blood streamed till it was dried on the road, and the bodies were stuck there, like driftwood after the flood. They were glued down, every last one of them. A packet of souls. Was it fate? Misfortune? Is that what glued them down like that? Of course not, let's not be stupid. It probably had more to do with the hurled bombs thrown down by humans hiding in the clouds. For hours the sky remained a devastating, home-cooked red. The small German town had been flung apart one more time. Snowflakes of ash fell so lovely you were tempted to stretch out your tongue and catch them, taste them. Only they would have scorched your lips, they would have cooked your mouth. Clearly I see it. I was just about to leave when I found her, kneeling there. The mountain range of rubble was written, designed, erected around her. She was clutching at a book. Apart from everything else, the book thief wanted desperately to go back into the basement, to write or to read through her story one last time. In hindsight, I see it so obviously on her face. She was dying for it, the safety, the home of it. But she could not move. Also, the basement no longer existed. It was part of the mangled landscape. Again, please, I ask you to believe. I wanted to stop, to crouch down. I wanted to say, "I'm sorry, child." But that is not allowed. I did not crouch down. I did not speak. Instead, I watched her a while. When she was able to move, I followed her. She dropped the book. She kneeled. The book thief howled. Her book was stepped on several times as the cleanup began. And although the orders were to clean only the mess of concrete, the girl's most precious item was thrown aboard a garbage truck, at which point I was compelled. I climbed aboard and took it in my hand, not realizing that I would read her story several hundred times over the years on my travels. I would watch the places where we intersected and marvel at what the girl saw and how she survived. That is the best I can do. Watch it fall into line with everything else I spectated during that time. When I recollect her, I see a long list of colours, but it is the three in which I saw her in the flesh that resonate the most. Sometimes I manage to float far above those three moments. I hang suspended until a septic truth bleeds towards clarity. That's when I see them formulate. The colours: red, white, black. They fall on top of each other, the scribbled signature black onto the blinding global white onto the thick, soupy red. Yes, often I am reminded of her, and in one of my vast array of pockets I have kept her story to retell. It is one of the small legends I carry, each one extraordinary in its own right. Each one an attempt, an immense leap of an attempt, to prove to me that you and your human existence are worth it. Here it is, one of a handful. The Book Thief. If you feel like it, come with me. I will tell you a story. I will show you something.